This little lens was the first Fuji lens that I have owned. It actually came with the XE2. I bought the lens and the camera as a kit, along with the grip. Well, I now have other Fuji lenses, but this 23 f2 is still my most used lens. So let's begin with the quality, the build quality of this lens. This is a very small and light lens, but it is a very solid feeling lens. It appears to be mostly built of metal with some plastics as well. But the construction is very solid, and although it is very small and light lens, like I said, it doesn't feel cheap. This is the cheaper option of a 23mm from Fuji, but again, there is nothing cheap feeling about this lens. The Aperture Ring has a nice feel to it. You know, it does do the clicking, and, you know, so you can know that you're in the right place, right? But it has, I think, the right amount. There is some resistance to it, but it is just loose enough that you can move it. That, of course, is something that's more opinion than anything else, but I like the way it feels. One of the things that I love about this lens is that you can put the cap directly on the lens like that, but it also comes with this plastic lens hood. I wish it was metal, but it does feel like a decent quality plastic. In any case, you put the lens hood on, and then you can put the cap on the lens hood as well, and it just stays there. So there's no need to ever really remove the hood. For me, this lens pretty much lives with the hood on. I never remove it. Unlike typically, you need to take the lens off and then either turn it around on it and then put the cap on every time you want the hood on. This lens, just like I said, it just stays there on this lens. You have the option, of course, to remove it if you really want to get it as small as it possibly can for whatever reason, whether it's street photography, discreetness, or just in terms of space. But I usually just leave it right on there like that, and I think it kind of acts as a protection anyways. A weather resistant lens, as it is in the name, WR, it is weather resistant. It is not, you know, waterproof. It isn't totally sealed, so you don't want to be out in a hurricane out there with torrential rains and thinking you're going to be fine. But the fact that they did add some weather resistance, it's good. It's a little bit reassuring to be out on vacation or whatever and know that just because a few drops happen to fall, you don't have to immediately put your camera away. I know if I have a lens, and it might all be in my head, I don't know, you know, my phone isn't weather resistant, yet I've used it out in the rain and it hasn't melted. So, but it does, you know, you do have that little bit extra confidence when the maker of something claims that it does have resistance. So that's one of the good things that I like. That's one of the big reasons why I chose this lens over Fuji's other 23mm option, is the fact that it is weather sealed. I like that little bit of extra confidence that it gives me when it's raining or snowing or any sort of bad weather. I don't feel that panic, and sometimes bad weather can give you good opportunities for good pictures. The lens does have as a proper weather resistant lens should, the little rubber ring at the back of the lens, which creates a little bit of seal between the body and the lens. So of course keeps any water from getting in between there. So this is an f2 lens, so it does decent in lower light situations. It's not an f1.4, so the 23 f1.4 has a one-stop advantage over this lens. That could be a big deal to you. If you know you're going to be constantly in really low light situations, the f1.4 might be a better option for you, especially if you often won't be able to use any added lighting, speed light. But f2 is still pretty good for lower light situations, and we have to remember that f2 is what keeps this lens as small and light as it is. And for me, at least, that is after all why I got a couple of these f2 lenses, is their size, and aside from being weather resistant, but their size as well. Yes, that's right. I have two of the f2 lenses, a 50 and a 23, and this gives you roughly equivalent full frame 35, 85 kind of deal. It's actually more like the 50. That's actually more like a 75, but close enough. And for a good while, these were the only Fuji lenses that I have. And what I liked about them, even though I've always had a zoom lens, but for Fuji, I think is the only system that I had for a while that I didn't have a zoom lens. I do have one now, but what I liked about these little lenses is that just the size. I mean, the fact that you can have one on the camera, for example, and you can literally stick the other one in your pocket. I mean, in a sweater like this, you know, it fits. If you don't want to bring a camera bag, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could even put this, depends on how you wear. If you wear skinny jeans, it's not going to work. But you could probably put this in your pants pocket. It maybe won't look very comfortable, probably won't look appropriate, but you could put this in your pocket of your pants. Recently, I took a trip to Mexico. Freaking things come out of there. Hold on one second, put this down. Oh yeah, this freaking bugs, moths. What the hell? Booby traps. And these are the only two lenses that I took. Again, usually I would always take a zoom lens on a vacation trip, and then a zoom and a prime, let's say, for example. But in this case, I didn't have a zoom. I had two primes. And the reason I didn't have a zoom is just because I wasn't sure which zoom lens I wanted. So I wasn't just gonna get any old zoom lens just to have one. So I went with what I had, these two lenses. It was very easy to travel with these lenses. This trip, it was a trip I took with my son. It was the first vacation him and I have had in a long time. He's a grown man pretty much. But so that was the first vacation we have had in a long time. And the photographer in me usually wants to take everything with me. And I did take some equipment with me, I'm not gonna lie. I did take more. I took an 80D as well. And that's just for doing some video. And again, I took some other things with me, tripods and light stands, and half of which we didn't even use because we ended up having such a good time. But like I said, you know, the photographer in me wanted to take more on every occasion that we went out. But the father in me kind of wanted to remind myself that we weren't there for photography or for videography. We were there to have a good time. Well, I wasn't going to go without a camera, but this setup allows me to not even take a camera bag. I mean, I took just a small, very lightweight bag with your standard, you know, vacation stuff. It was a trip to Cancun, and you know, you got your flip-flop, your towels, your sunscreen, that kind of stuff in there, and you can just throw one of these lenses in there, and it doesn't take up any space or any weight. And you can switch them, throw the other one in there. It's not a big deal, and that's one of the things that I love about these f2 lenses, is their size. They're made specifically for APS-C, for Fuji's APS-C sensors, and that's what keeps them small. This is again 23 millimeter f2. This is a Sony 28 f2, not exactly the same focal length, but similar. And as you can see, there is a size difference because this is made for a full frame, and this is not by any means a large lens. It is still a small lens. I have an A7R III, and this is the lens that's always attached to it for just regular everyday things because it is a small lens. But you can still see this difference in size, again, because it is made for an APS-C sensor. And that's the beauty of these Fuji lenses, is that unlike Canon, for example, if you want quality primes, you're getting L lenses that are built for a full frame camera, and you put them on a small Rebel, and all of a sudden you've got this big hulking camera that you've got to carry around, because if you want quality. But not with this lens, not with Fuji lenses. You get small, lightweight. Even the 1.4 is bigger than this, absolutely, but it is not a big lens compared to lenses that are built for a full frame system. So to me, the focal length, this 23 millimeter, again, it's full frame equivalent of about 35 millimeters. The focal length, the size, and the weight makes it the perfect general purpose lens, and that's why it's my most used lens. Again, I have the 16 to 55, full frame equivalent of 24 to 70, and I'll be honest, this is giving me, I think, a little bit better quality and image than this one, and it's giving me all the complete from 16 to 55. You know, I've got better options, but look at the size difference. Even, you know, I'm trying to minimize the size here just to be as fair as possible, but I mean, and the weight and the size differences. Don't get me wrong, I love this lens. I'm glad I bought it. I don't regret it. But for everyday kind of stuff, this is the lens that I'd rather carry, just because of its size, and you're not really sacrificing image quality. Now, I said that one is better in terms of image quality. I don't mean worlds better. I just mean pixel peeping better. You know what I'm saying? But back to the practicality of this lens is just, like I said, in its size and weight, and that's why it's my most used Fuji lens. And the image quality is there. And believe me, if it did not have the image quality, I wouldn't use it, because at the end of the day, if I wanted okay image quality and small, well, I have a phone that's even smaller than this and an X-T2 put together. So the image quality is there. So the size makes it, like I said, great for everyday stuff. It's perfect for street photography. You put it on a camera like the X-T2 or smaller Fuji cameras that are available, like the X-T3, the X70. Well, X70 has a fixed lens, but you know, these the X-T3 and the other one I can't think of right now. And you get it in a smaller package, but on this body, it's pretty small. So it's perfect for street photography as well. It's not very in your face. You know, you put this lens on it, and all of a sudden you kind of get a little bit more attention when you're pointing it at somebody. In terms of image quality, it's sharp in the center at f2. The center part is sharp. When you get a little further out to the edges, it's not as sharp. Stop it down, the corners get fixed, not an issue. it's a very good lens. It's a very sharp lens. I'm happy with it. The bokeh quality is good, in my opinion. That's a very subjective thing. People have different thoughts on what qualifies as good bokeh and bad bokeh. So that's, you guys will just have to look at the pictures and judge for yourself. I think it's a little bit hard, you know, to say how good it is. What I can say is how much it gives you. You're not going to get what the 56 1.2 gives you, because it's a 23. It's just not going to happen. You can get your subject as close as possible, and then put your background as far as possible, and that'll increase the amount of bokeh that you're going to get out of this lens. But otherwise, it is a 23 f2. You're not going to get crazy amounts of melted background. You're not going to get that. If you want more of that, but with the 35, or I'm sorry, a 23, then you would have to do the 23 1.4 if that's your main concern. That's your style. You like shooting wide open melted backgrounds, you're better off with the 1.4. But again, this lens is perfectly fine in that sense. I don't complain about that. I've used this lens for everything from travel to street photography to portrait sessions, and I have not been disappointed with the quality. Is it Fuji's sharp lens? No, it's not. That doesn't make it a bad lens. It just means it's not Fuji's sharp lens. All of Fuji's lenses, I mean, that I've tried so far, I mean, I haven't tried all of them. I've tried maybe 5 or 6 different lenses. They're all sharp lenses. But I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't call this the sharpest of the bunch. But it is, like I said, a very good lens. I don't hesitate to use it. If it wasn't sharp, I wouldn't be my everyday lens. I would have found a replacement for it. So I mean, that's as much as I can say about image quality. I'll let the pictures speak for themselves. I don't take pictures of charts and graphs and then test corner sharpness. I mean, it's just not, you know, it's just not how I do it. I mean, I'm just talking about everyday use and how I've used them, be it for street photography or portrait sessions, and, you know, and that kind of thing. So like I said, I'll let the pictures speak for themselves. You can go on Flickr and you can do searches on lenses, and you can see multiple examples and that kind of thing. And so to sum up this video, the lens, I'm very happy with it. Image quality, very good. Build quality, very good. It's weather resistant, small, it's light. I mean, what's not to like about this lens? I would really recommend it to anybody who's looking for something that isn't too big, heavy, good image quality. It's all there in this lens. 23 f2, my first lens, and I have no regrets in that sense. So that's gonna be it for this video. Again, 100% love this lens. I use it all the time. Recommend it all the way to anybody who wants a 23mm lens. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna show a few more sample images at the end of this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.